Hi everybody, I'm Julie Matheny. I'm a speech pathologist and IBCLC board certified lactation consultant. I often get asked about the safe handling and storage of breast milk as well as formula, so let's break it down together. Breast milk is a living substance with digestive enzymes that help break down milk in baby's digestive tract. It's also full of live immune properties to help baby fight infections, bacteria, and viruses. Formula is food. I know that seems obvious, but it's really important to remember. Since it is a food, we have to follow food safety rules when preparing, using, and storing formula. Breast milk is also a food, but like all foods, they have unique storage properties based off of what the food is and the risk of contamination and spoiling. So the rules for formula and breast milk are similar, but just a little bit different. The rules for formula help prevent bacterial contamination, which can make your baby sick. Keep in mind that these are guidelines. You know your home situation best, which includes your water source, what else is living in your refrigerator, the climate and temperature that you live at, and your own cleanliness in your kitchen, and how you're cleaning, washing, and sterilizing your bottle and parts. So let's talk about formula first. Prepared formula, meaning mixed powdered formula that you made with water following the manufacturer's instructions, but has not yet come into contact yet with your baby's mouth, can be stored in the refrigerator for 24 hours at an ideal temperature of 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Ready-to-feed formula that hasn't been offered can actually be stored in the fridge for up to 48 hours. That means you're not mixing powder with water. It's formula that you open the bottle and it is ready to feed. So your prepared mixed formula from a can versus an opening the top liquid formula does have different storage guidelines in the refrigerator. Ideally, either of these would be stored in an airtight storage container. This should be stored at the back of the fridge where it's coldest and least likely to be impacted by temperature fluctuations that happen near the door of your fridge. This does mean that if you're offering more than one bottle of formula per day, you can actually mix your entire day's worth of formula into one big batch and store it in a pitcher, and then pour out of that pitcher into your bottle for the volumes that you need to heat and feed. This can save you time when your baby is really hungry and also help prevent waste. You also do want to make sure that all of your storage containers for formula and breast milk are airtight to prevent that formula from absorbing odors or foods that are in the back of the fridge. So once you mix up that formula in that pitcher or in that bottle and you have it in the fridge, you want to use it within 24 hours. Now the next is, how long can formula sit at room temperature once it's been mixed? 2 hours. 2 hours. That's how long you have for formula to sit at room temperature or warmed up once it's been mixed, as long as it hasn't touched your baby's lips. That means you can mix up a bottle before you leave the house and leave it in your diaper bag to be fed within that 2-hour range of leaving the house. So that does include, if you have poured out from your pitcher into your bottle and warmed up that bottle, you have 2 hours to use that once it's come out of the fridge and is ready to feed. Once that bottle of formula has touched your baby's lips, you need to use it within 1 hour or toss it. This is because bacteria from your baby's mouth has been introduced back into the bottle, thanks baby backwash, and that bacteria can multiply and grow into unsafe levels. Healthcare providers will always recommend the safest practice to help keep your little one safe. So if you're worried about wasting formula, here's a few tips. Mix that formula in a pitcher, which means you can pour out just enough for the feeding. If the baby's still hungry, you can pour out just a little bit more as a top-up to prevent mixing too much and wasting formula. If your baby has a little formula remaining in the bottle and you know they will want a top-off later, consider offering that bottle again at the 50-minute mark before that bottle expires. That will maximize your use of formula and reducing waste as much as possible. So what about freshly pumped breast milk? There are other rules that apply. We want to definitely make sure that you're using breast milk storage bags or a clean food grade containers to store your expressed breast milk. Make sure the containers are made of glass or plastic that has tight fitting lids. Avoid bottles with the recycle symbol number 7, which indicates the container may be made of BPA containing plastic. Never store your breast milk in disposable bottle liners or plastic Ziploc bags that are not intended for breast milk storage, because we want to make sure that we're using the most appropriate containers for that milk. Some Ziploc bags could break if you freeze them. They may have other plastics, and they're not made to store your breast milk. So if you are going to be storing your breast milk, pump it right into your bottle if you want to store it in the fridge with the lid on, or use a specific breast milk storage bag. Freshly expressed breast milk or pumped breast milk can be stored at room temperature, which is considered 77 degrees Fahrenheit or colder, for up to 4 hours. Now, yes, you will sometimes hear parentheses around that. 4 to 7 hours. There's a lot of confusion about that. 4 is what we would generally consider safest for most climates and environments. And obviously, the colder you keep your temperature, technically the longer you can keep it out. If you are in a really hot weather climate with no air conditioning, obviously you want to keep it out at room temperature for much less time. You can keep that freshly pumped milk at the back of the refrigerator away from the door for up to 4 days. Again, there's some parentheses around that, but 4 days is really still considered best practice. In the freezer, at the back of the freezer away from the door, CDC recommends that you can store that for 6 months is best practice, but up to 12 months is considered acceptable, meaning that the longer you store your breast milk nutrients do break down with time, but breast milk would still be considered adequate and acceptable for use from anywhere from 6 to 12 months, using your oldest breast milk first. Although freezing keeps food safe almost indefinitely, recommended storage times are important to follow for the best quality of your milk. Freeze your milk flat in those bags to save space, and make sure to store them in the back of the freezer where it's coldest, away from the door where temperature fluctuates. If you don't think you'll use that freshly expressed breast milk within 4 days, do freeze it right away. This will help protect the quality of the breast milk. The longer that breast milk sits out, the more those live digestive enzymes are breaking down the nutrients in your milk. When freezing that breast milk, store small amounts to avoid wasting milk that might not be finished. Usually we'll recommend storing in 2 to 4 ounce portions, because that's usually the amount that you would offer a breastfed baby. Now, if you're going back to work and will be pumping multiple times and know about how much your baby's taking while you're at daycare, you could freeze in bigger batches to help prevent storage issues. All right. When you do put that breast milk in your milk bag, leave about 1 inch of space at least at the top, because breast milk expands as it freezes. So if you have too much in that bag, you can actually burst your milk bag, which is never a good thing, because we all cry over spilt milk. Breast milk can be stored in an insulated cooler with frozen ice packs for up to 24 hours when traveling. At your destination, use that milk right away, store it in the fridge, or freeze it. Now, my other big key, remember me waving my hands, make sure that you test for lipase before storing large batches of breast milk in your freezer. Lipase is an enzyme in your breast milk that breaks down the fat in breast milk. It helps your baby digest your milk in their digestive system. For some people with high lipase, their milk can taste soapy or metallic when stored for long periods of time. Some babies are fine to drink this milk, and others may refuse it. See my other posts and videos on high lipase and what to do about that if you think you have high lipase, or your breast milk tastes soapy, or your baby is refusing to drink it. Remember, always thaw the oldest breast milk first in that freezer to use it first. Remember, first in, first out. You want to use that old stuff first. Over time, again, the nutrients in breast milk will start to gradually break down. So when at all possible, try to feed fresh milk if you can. Now, how do we handle that breast milk? Breast milk can be defrosted in the fridge, and it normally takes around 8 to 12 hours to do that. You can also take that milk bag and hold it under warm running water, or you can leave it in a bowl of hot water. I don't recommend leaving frozen breast milk to defrost at room temperature. So if you take that milk bag out, either pop it in the fridge to defrost it over a long period of time, or pop it in a bowl of warm water where you're going to use it right away. Because if you forget it on the counter and then it goes past those safe feeding guidelines, you may lose that batch of milk, which we never want to do. We cry over spilt breast milk. I know you do. Now, we also never want to thaw or heat breast milk in a microwave. Microwaving can destroy nutrients in the breast milk and create hot spots, which can burn your baby's mouth. If you do thaw breast milk in the refrigerator, use it within 24 hours. The start time of that 24 hours starts when your breast milk is completely thawed, not from the time that you take it out of the freezer. Your breast milk is still considered frozen as long as there are ice crystals in that milk. So if for some reason your freezer defrosts because of a power outage, as long as you have ice crystals in that milk, it can be refrozen. Once the last ice crystal is gone, though, you do need to use that breast milk. It's considered thawed within 24 hours. Once your breast milk is brought to room temperature or warmer, up to body temperature, you do need to use it within 2 hours. Never refreeze breast milk after it has completely thawed. Now, your breast milk does not need to be warmed. It can be served cold or room temperature. You get to decide what your baby prefers. Some babies want to have body booby temperature breast milk, and some are fine with it straight out of the fridge. Cold milk will not cause colic and gas, but some babies are more particular in how they want their milk served. They would like the fine house white, chilled or room temperature or body temperature. All right, if you do decide to warm the breast milk, here's some tips. You want to keep the container sealed while you're heating it. Place that sealed container in a bowl of warm water or hold it under hot running water, and it may take a few minutes for it to warm up. Test that temperature on your wrist to make sure that it's not too hot for babies so we don't accidentally burn them. Breast milk will separate, the fat will rise to the top and the more watery portion will be on the bottom. It is okay to shake your breast milk to incorporate the fat into the water part. So we used to say swirl the breast milk or use a spoon to stir it to incorporate it because there was this old wives' tale that shaking it could somehow destroy the nutrients or change the fat and protein molecules. We have debunked that myth. It is fine to shake. Those shaking also will not cause baby gas. Although if it's super bubbly, yes, if your baby's swallowing a lot of air while they're drinking from that bottle, yes, they can get gas from swallowing air. But usually if you shake it, all the bubbles will rise to the top at the back of the bottle and should have popped before baby actually gets to that feeding. If your baby did not finish the bottle, use that leftover milk within 2 hours after the baby's finished eating. After 2 hours, that leftover breast milk needs to be discarded. Yes, you get a little longer amount of time to offer breast milk in a bottle once it's touched baby's lips than with formula. Finally, if you're mixing breast milk and formula together in the same bottle, the formula rules, the more restrictive rules do apply, meaning that once that combined formula and breast milk bottle has touched baby's lips, you only have that 1 hour to feed your baby. So now you know all of the biggest tips, strategies, safest handling and storing of formula and breast milk. Happy feeding. Now you know.